have a nice Amish white pine torrefied here, ready for its next phase of finishing. And this is one of the original headless bodies, which has morphed into the СТеле. So we're going to talk more about this later. We're going to go talk about the СТеле now. It was the obvious next step from the headless guitars that I've been doing for a long time now, and something more affordable. This is basically an ergonomic Telecaster. So it has a similar but more manneristic, a little longer shape than the headless, and of course the headstock. Main reason for doing this is cost of hardware. Those bridges have gone from anywhere. In fact, this particular new bridge is going to be costing us quite a bit of money. This is a $23 plate, another $20 worth of bridge, and then $32 worth of tuners. All of a sudden, it makes the guitar just a more affordable instrument. Telecaster is played by how many people on the planet? It is reproduced by how many people on the planet? Why not just make it something more than just a cutting board, something that's comfortable, something that's ergonomic. The headstock now, you don't have to reach around and do all this. It's all positioned so you don't have to struggle with it. Other aspects about the neck are, this is now the strongest part of the neck. It's not the weakest. That is, you'll never see a website dedicated to gluing a headstock back on a Klein guitar. If everybody else is making one, why can't I make one? and you know, and I'm not being flippant. I mean, obviously it's accepted that, you know, the position of the knobs and the switch and the bridge and the pickups, that's all the same as every Telecaster that's ever been made. Why fuss with what people have accepted as a usable instrument? Let's just make it something that's friendly. You know, it's really primarily the ergonomic aspect of it. Other than maybe the torrefied materials that he probably didn't have availability of, but he had the availability of other materials that are hard for me to get nowadays. Very little. It's really the structure that has just been slightly altered to make the whole thing just more friendly for the musician to communicate with. Well, Zero Fret's a good example. Zero Frets have gotten a bad rating over all these years. They've been, I think, primarily thought of as being on cheap instruments, even though Gretsch and a lot of other people use Zero Frets. But part of the problem was they would have a Zero Fret and then they'd have a nut behind it. It looked redundant. The way the approach was not didn't accentuate the fact that the Zero Fret was actually a bonus and not just a cheap track. If it sits on a piece of bone or plastic and it's not sitting on a piece of metal, the open string is not going to sound the same. So it's just consistency.
Okay.
And believe me, there's nothing more frustrating than filing the fret slots and then getting to the sixth one and it's too deep. Oh yeah, many wood choices. Of course, swamp ash. This is a beautiful example of a nice swamp ash. but I also use a lot of redwood. This is a redwood body. Redwood has the highest stiffness to weight ratio, so it's a lot easier to get lightweight guitars. The swamp ashes can be very inconsistent in weight. You can get very light stuff, and you can get stuff that's just, you could make necks out of. It's just heavy and dense. So it can vary. And of course, it can vary in a redwood tree depending on you're cutting something from 120 feet up or something that's just 20 feet off the ground where it's all compressed and dense. So the density can vary enormously. But I really like the redwood guitars. You'll never get away from people loving the swamp ash stuff. It's just wonderful stuff. And that's primarily what we're doing in Japan right now. We've got some really nice stock. I used to play guitar, but to think that I know what a guitar needs to be from a musician's point of view is really, it's just silly. So I have gained so much inspiration from all of the musicians I've met over the years. I've been fortunate to meet, just some fantastic people. Just got a text from Steve Miller the other day. Said, last 2 guitars that I sent him, he loved the necks. So as well. But without those guys getting back to me and saying, yeah, no. I mean, I built some stuff for Steve that long ago. He came back. He wanted these Steinberger necks, these really stiff necks. And I was putting them on these really lightweight Polonia bodies, and they were terrible guitars. So you learn by making mistakes, and being able to deal with those guys, those professionals that really understand all the differences. I can make all the difference. It's just, I make them all. Well, the guitar is such a piece of junk that it is still not fully evolved at all. It's just, it's one of the wonderful things about it. It is constantly going through changes, just like this Evertune bridge that I've just become familiar with, even though it's been out for almost 10 years. People are constantly looking at the guitar as something that is not stuck. And the term guitar covers so many things: electric, acoustic, this wide range. It's just 6 strings and not always frets even.
Not always 6 strings.
Not always 6 strings. Built plenty of 7-string, harp guitars, all sorts of things. So the challenge of creating useful instruments for musicians is really the thing that I chase.